And now I'm gonna call roll. Who's our acting administrator today?
That would be Mr. Finley.
I'm sorry, hold on. And you are present today, right, Mr. Finley?
Yes.
All right. Is Rachel here?
Can you change the spelling of my name? Findlay.
That's my boss's last name, and that's how he spells it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Rachel?
Yeah, present.
Awesome. Genevieve? Don't see her. Okay. Mr. Acevedo?
Here, present.
Okay. Carla's not here. John Kearney?
Present.
Jennifer Grobe? Nope. Jennifer Hamilton? Okay, Brett, we know won't be in today. And I am here. Oh, that's only 5 right now until Carla gets here. Are we able to proceed with that? Does anybody know? I don't think we are.
Well, we technically don't have action items,
Oh, okay.
but I think that's only important if we have to vote on things.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
All right. Are there any guests today?
I'm a guest. Hello.
Yes, you are.
I'm here to present on intervention per request of the team.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you.
No problem.
I am also a guest. Hi, everyone. Susie Navarro.
Welcome, Ms. Navarro.
Thank you so much, Mr. Delfino.
All right.
And Marilyn Dela Cruz.
Oh, that's true. I'm sorry, Marilyn.
It's okay.
Is that correct? All right. Okay. Those of us here, did we get a chance to look at the agenda and see if there's anything that we need to amend or change? This would be the moment. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, John.
I second.
Thank you, Rachel. And I guess we'll take a vote. So let's see. Mr. Finley, are you okay with the agenda?
I am.
We should have a table there though, right? As we're voting. To approve the agenda.
Do we usually vote to approve the agenda?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Yeah, because
I think we need to do that at our next meeting, like the regular meeting. Because like Marilyn said, we're not supposed to be voting on anything if we don't have.
Quorum.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So is there anybody in the public who wishes to address the board? Not of our given presentations. Okay, then we'll move on. Ms. Dumar, you're going to go ahead and go first.
Great.
And the floor is yours. I'll be taking notes. Go right ahead.
Excellent. I'll share screen and present. All right. So intervention at reach, just a quick run through, but there's room for questions as well if you have any. Okay, so our team at this time consists of me as the administrator over the team. And we have Cassidy Renty, who is part-time on our team, but she is also on the special education team in the counseling department. She's an Orton Gillingham specialist as well. Michelle Crawford is the Read 180 and Orton Gillingham trained intervention specialist. We have Jasmine Nolasco doing 2nd grade in Orton Gillingham. You'll notice the star next to 2 of the team members. The next one as well, Sasha Spooner, 3rd grade in Orton Gillingham. Both of them have been picking up kids in 1st grade. because we are missing staff right now for first grade. And so I've been assigning kids out to other grade levels as needed for Orton Gillingham if that support is needed. Vanessa Gouveia is doing fourth grade intervention. I should have put a star by her name as well. She's doing some of the math for first grade. Kyla Britt is doing 5th and 6th grade ELA in Orton Gillingham. And Haley Gilman is doing 5th and 6th grade math. Questions about the team?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna move this piece. So intervention at reach, the supports are specialized instruction that are focused to close the gap between the student's current ability level and wherever the grade level benchmarks are. We use different benchmark data and common assessments to group students by ability level and missing skill. And then we give skill-based instruction at their ability level in order to close that gap so they can access grade level content. And there's 2 models of support that we generally use. There we go. So push-in supports would be when intervention comes into the classroom to provide support in the moment. So that tends to be work that's closer to grade level, whether that's reteaching during centers or doing a small group while the teacher's in another group, and they're looking at the focus skills that are at grade level at that time. They also might provide scaffolding supports so kids can access curriculum that's above their ability level. That might be completing graphic organizers with them, providing color coding, highlighter supports, any kind of manipulatives in the moment, things like that, so that kids who would otherwise not be able to access grade level curriculum can participate with their peers. And then pull-out supports would be for support that it's below grade level so that students have some privacy in being able to close those gaps. If it's greater than a 2-year difference, we don't want them in the classroom receiving that support because they become pretty aware, usually around 3rd grade, that other kids are working on different skills. So they'll come out either to another room or an outside table and work on specific skills there. The pull-out support would be for every Orton Gillingham group, which is, Orton Gillingham is a very explicit literacy model for direct, systematic, phonetic instruction to increase students' ability to blend and read words. It's particularly effective for kids who have dyslexia or symptoms of dyslexia without a diagnosis. All right, so then as far as how we document the support for our kiddos to make sure that the kids who need support are getting support and that the ones getting support are making growth. Any kid getting intervention support has progress monitoring in place. Generally what we'll do is we take all the benchmarks that we do when they do their baseline testing or their STAR testing or their DIBELS testing, and we take the kids who are performing at the far below basic level and give them some small group support and then monitor progress toward whatever skill was identified by that benchmark. And so using that data, we can modify the plan of instruction or the frequency of their small groups. Kids who have documented supports in place that aren't making effective growth or have more than 2 or 3 tier 2 supports, which would be like if I have a kid in an Orton Gillingham group who's also getting pull-out supports for reading comprehension, we'll generally refer them for a student success team where teachers and parents meet together with an administrator and we track their current progress, their strengths, and then whatever strategies are currently being used to support those students, and then monitor to see, are we being effective and how are we going to increase the support if they're not making growth, or if it's, hey, we figured out what works for this kid, here's what we're going to keep doing so they can continue to access grade level work. We meet at least twice a year for kids who have an SST. Sometimes it has to be more frequent, and that tends to be for students who are not performing or making growth, or students who have behavior needs. Any questions there so far?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, so one of our bigger components, especially in the last 2.5 years or 2 years, is learning loss mitigation. I'm sure you've heard about that, kind of widespread as far as school focus. And so one of the things we've tried to work on with our kids is giving them strategies they can apply that they learn explicitly. So we're teaching specific strategies to students who are having trouble in any particular area, so that when they see that work or see that activity that's going to be difficult for them, they know, oh, I do best when I do it this way. And then they ask for the support they need. So giving them the confidence by practicing and giving them success in small groups, so they know I can do it this way. This is right for me. To be able to say to the teacher, hey, I really need to use those blocks in this place value chart so I can figure this out on my own. Or I need to sit by myself with these headphones on because it's too noisy and I can't concentrate. Or any number of other strategies so that they can advocate for themselves and then go on to middle school to be able to ask for the support that works for them or use strategies that work for them without needing that hand holding as they get older. And then through COVID, we maintained support right away. As soon as instruction started, we were in Zoom small groups, in breakout rooms with teachers, and then in tutoring groups after school during the afternoon hours, just making sure that kids had access to the new instructional patterns of Zoom, but also those on skill or ability level skill lessons that we would be giving in person. When we went to hybrid, we had the same kind of like small group on Zoom, small group with kids. And now that we're back full time this year with our kids, we've seen some pretty great growth. But I did bring along the charts from last year just to kind of show how things are going with our team. So as far as growth data for last school year, where we were on hybrid instruction, anyone who received documented intervention for the whole school year is represented in the graphs. Some students came back to campus for one or the other at the beginning or the end of the year. And if they missed one by not returning, it just has a gray area that says not applicable because they didn't come on campus to take that assessment. So at the beginning of the year in first grade last year, about half the kids being serviced for intervention were at level 1, which would be far below basic, and half the kids were at level 2, where they were not quite to proficient. And then at the end of the year, we had only 25% of the kids still in level 1, 62% in level 2, and 13% in level 3. With second grade, we began the year with only 11% of the kids in intervention performing at level 2 and 89% performing at level 1. And we saw growth to only 62% remaining in level 1 and 25% in level 2, but we did have some kids not come back for testing. For third grade, this was a big win. We were really impressed. 75% of kids started at level 1, 25 at level 2, finishing the year at 50% level 1, but we had some kids even move up to level 4 in third grade. So with the supports in place, they really made gains. That was pretty awesome. And another kiddo to proficient. Fourth grade, we saw a flip where kids went behind, but we did see that grade wide for math last year. So that was the struggle. These are the math scores, and that's something that we've been addressing school-wide. So not ideal, but something that we've been able to kind of tweak this year by increasing the frequency, duration, and intensity of support in the classroom and making sure they have that hands-on learning, knowing that it's harder for kids to learn those concepts when they can't build it. So just being able to look at, this is where we're at, that didn't work on Zoom, here's how we're going to do it better. And then for fifth grade, we started with 67% in level 1 and 17 at level 2, and a good chunk didn't come in to be tested, ending the year with a far greater chunk in level 2, and then one of our kids pushed up to level 4, which was great. Sixth grade, from 89% at level 1 down to 44 at the end of the year, with 34% in level 2, and a good group of kids at the end of the year that didn't come back for end of the year testing. The next piece is for our oral reading fluency. So this would be for all the kids who had Orton-Gillingham supports for their phonics and fluency. The only grade level that didn't see huge gains was second. It was a really small group, and all of these kids did end up getting additional support where they moved out of our program and into a more intensive program because we were able to document that that wasn't enough for these particular students. With third grade, we saw an average of 50 words correct per minute at the beginning of the year, moving up to about 76 words correct per minute. The goal for the end of third grade, I believe, is 90 words correct per minute, might be 93. So that was pretty good because we got them much closer to grade level. Fourth grade, again, the kids receiving support are starting out pretty low. but pretty good gains as far as Zoom support for a tactile program. Orton Gillingham uses multimodal instruction, and taking away a lot of that tactile piece made it really challenging. But we did create like little word building kits and then sent them in the mail so that the kids could participate via Zoom with their word building kits for the letters, sounds, and patterns they were practicing. 5th grade, modest gains, and then 6th grade almost made it to their grade level benchmarks at 112 words corrected per minute. So that was pretty exciting, even with the modification to our instructional program, to be able to still see a lot of gains. Questions? Did that answer what you guys
That
were
was-
looking for?
Yeah, that was great. Can you talk a little bit more about Orton Gillingham and how that program looks and what a typical lesson might look like?
Sure. So Orton Gillingham, when you start with a new group, or if you have, say someone just joined my program, the first thing you do is an assessment to look at what skills they already have and what skills they need support in. And so they're doing a lot of like just blending CVC words, words with initial blends, words with long vowels, words with diphthongs, digraphs, to kind of see which skills the students have. Usually they're referred to us if they're not meeting DIBELS scores or like DIBELS goals. Sometimes 1st grade teachers will refer kiddos when they're noticing that just fluency practice isn't increasing their fluency score. But more often than not, it tends to be by 2nd grade where we're seeing that they haven't picked up long vowel patterns or they haven't picked up blends, and teachers have been providing support. And it's like, we need something more. So once we conduct the assessment, you kind of know what they're working on. Each lesson starts with access to the blending board. You put the words together and you're doing a lot of like tap and sweep, where you're doing that TPR, the total physical response instruction, or finger blending. And then the kids are building the same words, either tracing it in sand, they trace it on plastic grids. Kind of the goal of using multimodal instruction is to integrate your muscle memory with what you're learning. Where in traditional phonics lessons, it's a lot of rote memory, where the teacher will present the pattern, the kids write it down in spelling. So a lot of spelling practice tends to be rainbow words, they write it down, or you spell it out loud, which is auditory. For kids who are having trouble learning with just memorizing and saying it out loud, building it and touching it, and that repetition with the same patterns builds a more concrete understanding that they can then draw back on when they're blending new words. And so they'll do the introduction of the word on the blending board, they build it, they do a couple different activities that are hands-on, and then they're presented with like a leveled reading passage that includes that word pattern or the specific words that were taught. And the lessons are usually about 30 minutes long, and we will focus on that chunk, whatever that skill is, until they get to mastery. And so you don't go on until the student has that letter sound pattern, which is also not traditional, where you would see, you know, teachers change the spelling words every week. This would be like, well, I'm not going to leave until I know you have it. And you're going to teach it different ways until they get there and keep going back to like review what you had done before. The other thing that makes it really powerful is the way that it's systematically put together. The sounds are instructed in an order that builds on each other so that they can start with very easy CVC words. They learn letters M, C, S, A, and T in the first unit, and then they're blending just words with those patterns, mat, cat, sat. And then they play with pretend words like tam, moss, things like that. So they're putting words together in that pattern, looking at the sounds. They'll go on to the next chunk and go through all of the consonants and all of the vowels very slowly in order so that they're building on with the letters they've already learned and the sounds they've already learned. Once they finish their CVC words, which would be all of the short vowel sounds and all of the consonants, you move into your initial blends, which would be putting a consonant blend at the beginning of the word, like stop or blot. So we focus on that for a while, and there's a lot of fun activities they do with like blending the words together. They have little blenders where they put the words in. It tends to be trickier because the kids have trouble putting the words into one sound or putting the sounds together instead of separating it out. Once they get there, we go on to putting those blends in other positions. You'll teach your magic E or long vowel E, where it's vowel consonant E spelling, like in rope or hate. And we do a lot of phoneme manipulation back and forth between the short and long vowel with that, so that they're identifying and discriminating the sounds between long and short vowels. Kind of keep going if you want, but it's very explicitly
great.
lined out. Okay, so like it builds piece by piece, so that as they do better with each piece and learn each skill, it builds on to the next unit. It builds on so that you're still applying everything you already learned to get to that next chunk. Right now, I believe there's about 20 kids total right now that are getting support in that, that I can think of offhand. And we don't usually add them unless they're identified by teacher and we've talked to parent. It's very unusual for us to put that in place without parents being aware.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yeah, sorry. I guess kind of more personal for the general public, but do you allow parents to request an assessment?
Yep, parents can request assessment through, if you're looking more at like SST, there's not, I mean, we can do an OG assessment if the DIBEL scores are indicating that there's an issue, right? So if we look at their scores and they're below benchmark and they haven't made growth through the year, that would be when we'd make that referral for assessment. But in any situation, parents have a right to request a special ed assessment for their kid, and then that would be reviewed by the special ed department.
Okay, and I guess the second point of my question, and just give you a quick background, I have a stepdaughter who's in the same grade as my son, but she's in public school, and the difference between the reach education versus the public school education is profound.
Okay.
It's a huge difference. So we're trying to get her into reach. So my second question is, your slideshow and what you do would essentially be like the spark that would probably get her biological father on board, is what we're trying to do. So do you actually give out your presentation, or is that something you just keep?
I could hand it out. That's no problem if you want to share it, or if you want to give him my email, we could meet or talk or whatever you want to do.
Sorry, I appreciate that. I know it's kind of a personal side, but it's absolutely perfect timing. So I appreciate it.
Mr. Osqueda? Oh, I thought he was going to talk. Okay, he unmuted. Yeah, let me know. If not, I can share it with. I could send it to you directly if you want. That's not a big deal.
No, that's fine. I think this is just the spark that we need to make that switch.
Perfect. Okay. Oh, perfect. Look at that. The meeting is recorded and added to the website, so you can go right on the website and share it with them directly. Thank you, Reach Info.
All right, Ms. Dumeier, thank you for your presentation. It was very enlightening. We're ready to move on to 6.2. So Ms. Navarro, take it away.
Thank you so much. That was a great job, Ms. Dumeier. Thank you for that. Very informative. And I'm happy to hear that we've noticed a difference in education as well. We welcome all students, of course. And so with that being said, we would like to talk to you about WASC and our upcoming WASC visit. The day of our visit will be on May 2nd through the 4th. But before we get started, I would absolutely love to ask you all to take a poll just to show us how familiar you are with WASC currently. So if you can just take just a minute to answer that, that would be very helpful for us.
All right, I'm gonna pull up the poll right now.
And if I can ask, while Marilyn pulls the poll, only parents, so staff members, please do not take this this poll as you've already been polled in the staff presentation. So we're
Thanks
only
so
asking
much.
for
I'm going to
parents.
excuse myself. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer.
Bye-bye.
Great. How many parents do we have on the call? Let's see here.
Looks like 2.
Oh yeah, we only have 2. And we got how many answers? 3 answers.
Huh.
Interesting. Okay, very good. So it seems like we're either somewhat familiar or we are definitely familiar, right? So perfect. Thank you so much.
Sorry, Susie, I answered. I mean, I guess technically I'm a parent too.
You are definitely a parent. Thank you for that, Miss Rachel. So I'm going to have you answer the next poll as well. Then we'll keep you as a parent. Thank you again. So we're going to go ahead and hang on to that. We have a nice even split at 33% with a bit familiar, and then we increased to very familiar. So great, very good. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started.
Hi, everyone. So I'll get started with the presentation. So we are looking at ACS WASC accreditation. And for those that don't know, that's the Accrediting Commission of Schools, Western Association of School and Colleges. So this entity overlooks the accreditation process for independent schools, colleges, and universities that seek out this recognition. And the reason that this is so important is that REACH actually went through the initial process back in spring 2018. And we were initially accredited, but due to COVID and many delays through the accrediting committee, they have pushed our self-study and full visit to this spring. So we are set to have a 3-day visit this next upcoming month in May. So the reason that we go through this process is that the accreditation committee gives us guidelines of how to continuously improve school operations, how to really look into the academic progress and the growth of students. We're looking at programming as well. So we're looking at our goals and looking to continuously improve that. So that allows the public to see that we're doing our due diligence in overlooking all of the aspects of our school programming. It creates a sense of trust, it shows integrity, and it really gives a seal of approval to schools. And it gives a sense of confidence to the public that they can send their students to our organization. A really important piece is it's an ongoing process. So any of the findings that we find in the self-study report and through the visit, this is information that we can use to improve our processes, and we could also use those findings to improve our local control and accountability plan. We could also use that information in our school-wide action plan. So this is a very beneficial self-reflection tool that we can use. As I mentioned before, this is a seal of approval, and to continuously have this is a really great recognition for us to hold. Next, just a quick sample of what a full visit might entail. So as I mentioned before, we're looking at a 3-day visit in which the committee will come on campus and meet with multiple stakeholders. So what they're really going to be focusing on is doing class and program observations, where they will be looking at day program and after school program, and the committee will conduct interviews with multiple stakeholders. So they will talk to focus groups, which are people that have been really closely tied to the drafting of the self-study report. They will talk to students, staff and parents, but also they will do informal student interviews. So this can be anywhere from outside during PE or during recess or lunch to just kind of really ask questions and get a sense of, well, the students are our ultimate population that we're serving. What is it exactly that they think and feel about the education and the programming that they're receiving? Also, during this time, they will be reviewing the document that we provide. So as they're taking notes and seeing things live, they will be taking those notes, reviewing the document, and ultimately they will give us some feedback. And then by that third day, basically, we're looking at being accredited and continuing the accreditation progress until they come back again, which should be in the next couple of years, and it will be an ongoing cycle for us. Really quickly, I'm not going to go too much into the mission and vision. This is something that you can find on our website. It's also listed on our parent-student handbook, and our mission is also listed on the cover page of our school side council agenda. But really, part of the interviews that the visiting committee conducts could possibly ask us staff, parents, students, well, what is the mission of the school? So what I really want to highlight is just the bold. So we're looking at bridging the socioeconomic, racial, and digital divide for youth. So we're looking at, preventing those barriers from stopping students from receiving an equitable education. So what we're really doing is preparing the students so they can be successful in colleges and then in their futures. Next, the vision statement. So the vision statement is how are we going to do it? There's a lot of great things. So again, you can take a look at the website for this and take a longer glance at this. But really the bolded information is the how we're doing it. So we're looking at culturally and current curriculum that's tied to Common Core. We're using research-based curriculum that's Common Core ready, and teaching students at their instructional level. So these are all the things that we're doing in order to prepare the kids to be successful in colleges and as future citizens.
So we wanted to just give you an idea as to what the WASC document actually entails. And we also want to just expose you to the document itself, as it will be accessible to all. It is over 100 pages long, but it's a great document that explains pretty much most things, if not everything, around REACH. So if you're ever, in the evening in need of a read, that's a great read. So in the document, you'll find multiple chapters, a total of 5 chapters. Within those chapters, we will find reporting on progress report as to in terms of like what the accomplishments have been since their last visit up until now. Chapter 2 entails student and community profile supporting data and findings. Chapter 3 is a self-study findings, where we look at the vision and purpose of the school, the governance, leadership, staff, resources, curriculum, learning and teaching, assessment and accountability, school culture, and support for student personal, social, emotional, and academic growth. We really dive into all of these categories in detail. As far as chapter 4 goes, we summarize basically, we show an analysis identifying the major student learning needs. And then for chapter 5, we discuss the school-wide action plan, which you guys have already been exposed to. So if you can, Ms. Marilyn, click into that link so we can just show them just the beginning of the document would be fine. So we can all be familiarized with it. This is what it looks like. And you can just scroll from maybe a couple of pages, Ms. Marilyn, just to expose everybody to the document. So here you're seeing our accomplishments, for example. We hired new staff. We actually adopted new curriculum. And so that's what multiple things that we're updating the state on. And just the history and background of REACH, etc. That's okay, Ms. Marilyn. We will be giving you a little snippet of the document ourselves, just so we can go over the information with you as well.
All right. So one of the items that we do highlight in the beginning of the self-study report is significant developments. So within that first chapter, looking at what has happened within the last 4 years. So when it comes to the developments, one of the things that we've noticed is that these 3 items, so we added new staff roles, we adopted the new curriculum, we had a facility expansion. So a lot of these were based around the needs, a lot of needs. So for example, as the enrollment increased, we needed more specialized individuals to, I guess, at the helm of different things. So for example, hiring Mr. Finley, assistant principal that's overseeing curriculum and instruction, having an instructional coach. So that was in order to the identified need of really preparing teachers in order to mitigate the learning loss that we were anticipating with COVID, preparing the teachers to utilize technology and to continue having for the teachers to have continuous conversations about how to tackle this learning loss. Another thing to highlight is the intervention or the special education team also hired many individuals, so their caseload also has increased, so they've had to also add into specialized roles within their department. And due to COVID, relying a lot on technology, the technology acquisition, we've had to increase our IT team. So now we currently have 3 individuals that help us monitor the technology on campus. We adopted the new curriculum back in 2020. So a lot of the main core curriculum. So in ELA, we transferred over to new adoptions of Savos Learning, which is formerly Pearson Education, Dimensions Math, which is provided by Singapore Math, Amplify Science, and Studies Weekly. So one of the things to note with these new adoptions is that they did have more robust online presence, which really did help in order to disseminate lessons to students and activities. And I'm sure the parents on the call will notice that there were a lot of videos and there was a lot of online content that really helped the teachers push that information out. Lastly, we did have a facility expansion project. So within the last couple years, because of the increase in enrollment and ultimately an increase in caseload within the special education department, we did create a wing, a dedicated wing for them. So they do have now a conference room and 4 spaces for their staff in order for them to conduct pullouts and keep track of the instructional minutes for each of the students on their caseload. And then lastly, one of our most recent additions, we now have playground structures on both the kinder wing and the main campus. So all of these are just some of the significant developments that you might have noticed within the last couple of years. And then within these, within that, we also have accomplishments. So one of the things, I'm not going to go through all of these, but we've done a lot of great work even through a pandemic. So we've continued, very early on, disseminated a distance learning plan and continue to virtually engage with our family and our students. We moved and are now labeled a restorative campus. So our staff continuously does get training on how to connect with our students and families through a trauma-informed lens. We've also gone one-to-one with Chromebooks for 2nd through 6th grade. So again, that was due to the pandemic and making sure that every student had access to the technology they needed. And lastly, we've also had placements in the county science fair. So we're noticing that we are preparing students and they're able to, compete with other peers within the county. So most significantly, this past year, I believe we had about 4 kids that did place at the county level. So that is just some of the highlights and accomplishments that REACH has been able to accomplish the last couple of years.
We wanted to share with you guys what we are getting ready to share with the WASC committee that's visiting us, which is, a snapshot of our student enrollment, our increase in student enrollment, I should say, since the last visit. So if you can see for the year 2017 to 2018, we didn't even have TK students. So I just want to point that out there. As far as the total number of students, we had 500 students since the last visit. And now it's increased to capacity, which is 640 students. Pretty amazing. So with the increase of student enrollment, of course, we increase the need for teachers. And so on the right side, you'll see the increase of our teachers. So since the last visit, we had, if you can see that, pretty much 3 teachers per grade level minus the TK, we only had 1. And for 6th grade, we only had 1. Now we hold 2 TK teachers and we have 3 teachers per grade level as well. Now it's important to also mention the student population that we have that qualify for free and reduced meals. When they last visited, we had 50.8%, and so it's increased slightly to 51.1%. However, as you know, because of our previous presentations, this number of population of students who qualify for free and reduced meals qualifies REACH as a Title I school as well. Now, we wanted to mention that before the pandemic, we were using SBAC to assess our students. And then after the pandemic, we had to rely on other measures such as the STAR testing, which is what we transition into. So I just wanted to show you how we compared in terms of SBAC before the pandemic, how we compared. I know we spoke of the comparison between district schools and whatnot. So here we're comparing REACH to the state levels and also to the Riverside Unified School District. So what we're comparing is the percentage of students who have met or exceeded the standards. So on the left side, we have the subject of ELA and literacy. As you can see, REACH has 52%, which exceeds the district level and the state level as well. They're all pretty close, but as you can see, we're taking the lead there in comparison to them. And then in math, we are actually right there with Riverside Unified School District, and we're right below the state level. So we're still very much competing with, the state and the district as well. Now, as we transition to our STAR data, this is data that you have been exposed to in the past, in past presentations, but we wanted to bring it back because we just wanted to point out that in both, this is ELA and the next slide shows our math, it really reflects an increase in terms of student needs. Essentially, the pandemic definitely affected our school, as it affected every school, let me just say. However, what we do see is it's, if you can see, like if we can focus on the yellow and on the red, which is our interventions, students on intervention and students on urgent intervention, we only increased in need by 2% and 6%. So our teachers worked incredibly hard, our intervention staff, everybody worked incredibly hard in avoiding, the gap to get bigger, the educational learning gap to get bigger. And so it shows, I mean, we do see the need to obviously continue stepping in, but it also shows, that the staff did a pretty wonderful job in keeping, our students educated through the pandemic as well. And we can show the math one as well, Ms. Marilyn. So the numbers are kind of similar, where we saw an increase in need for the students on intervention at 6%, and urgent intervention is set at 10%. So what we did, looking at the whole picture, zooming out, some of the areas of strengths that we see within REACH is that REACH really strives to assess student progress and allocates resources to adapt our instruction to meet all learner needs. We also prioritize collaborative data analysis that leads to strategic modification in the classroom instruction. Our teachers are definitely implementing data-based small group and differentiated instructions. This is one of the biggest pieces why you see a lot of our instruction just really making an impact with their student learning. And we do this without impacting the curriculum-based instruction. Another strength that we have is that there is a collaboration between grade levels and subject teams in the upper grades from 4 through 6, where they come together and they analyze data, in which, as they do this together, it definitely results in greater alignment across the classrooms. Again, as Ms. Dumeyer mentioned, we have intervention programs, and we have quite a few of them actually that really support the students who are struggling. And we had these even during distance learning as well. Another strength is the fact that our student count continues to increase, right? And so right now we're at student capacity, which is a beautiful thing. And then finally, we held it as a strength that overall staff, parents, and students report a high satisfaction rate around REACH and what we're doing. And we've held those reports for the last couple of years as well. Now, as some of the items where we feel that are considered areas of growth have to do with constantly analyzing data around our special population groups, right? So for example, some of those groups would include our SPED students, our multilingual learners, and other groups as well. So we definitely take these groups into consideration, but we would like to be doing it a lot more often, as in like intentionally pulling these specific groups throughout the year to analyze the data. And another thing is REACH currently does not have one resource where we can access all of the data from all the various assessments. And this would be a nice tool where we're actually looking at some programs, because what we want is for all these various assessments to be more accessible to all the teachers and staff. Another area of growth is conducting data conversations with students after each test administration. We are having those data conversations with the students, but it would be great to have it more systemized as we move, forth. Now, another area of growth is, as we look at our social studies curriculum, we want it to reflect diversity of our student population. And so we're definitely looking for curriculum around that qualification. Another area of growth is just simply to be more consistent and more frequent on implementing project-based learning as it relates to solving real world problems. And with that comes the next area of growth that we feel to increase the number of grade level implementing project-based assessments. So we would like to assess the students more often around projects. And then finally, just simply all the teams reviewing student work together to better align on reteaching strategies as well. With that being said, we would like for you to take another poll with us. You're going to see a total of six questions, and we ask only parents to take this poll, not staff members, since you've already been polled in your previous presentations. You can take a minute. the poll shared, is it going?
Yes.
It's going
Okay.
up slow, sorry.
Okay. Okay, I'm like, are you guys awake? Thank you.
Are we still waiting for somebody else?
We are still
Okay.
waiting for one more person. Is Rachel, Rachel, are you taking the poll?
Sorry,
I recommend you do since you took the first one as a parent.
I closed out of it. I'm so sorry.
Okay. So maybe we can remove your first answer from the first poll. So then we're gonna go ahead and close the poll. I'm just gonna say as results. Can you share the results, Miss Marilyn? Perfect. So then, okay, looks really great. It looks like we definitely did increase in knowledge around the WASC accreditation process. The presentation was helpful to you. Excellent. Great to know. And then based on your experience, you feel like REACH is fulfilling the mission and closing the achievement gap. Excellent. Appreciate that. Then, so, oh, perfect. Holds themselves accountable, 100%. Thank you for that. And then based on your experience, do you agree with the findings on the WASC study? Perfect. Thank you so much for your answers, for your input. You can go ahead and conclude our presentation and take any questions if you guys have any questions.
No, I think that was great. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, then let's before we move on to 6.3, do we want, oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, 6.3. Do we want to adjust that Ms. Hoganson and Ms. Sanchez are both here now? Can I just make that a change?
I think that would be very good.
Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you, Carla. Okay.
All right, so since our presentation is concluded, I just want to say good night, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the information, and we look forward to sharing more information once we get after the accreditation visit.
Yes,
Awesome.
we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much for your guys' support and attention. See you soon.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. Okay. The next one was parent involvement discussion. I don't know if you remember, John, last time we were talking about possibly coming up with the survey. And so we wanted to start kind of brainstorming some questions as to what we wanted to ask the families, the parents, in terms of how we can get, how we can help them more. But I don't know if you want to hold off on this one since we don't have everybody here today.
Yeah, I think we probably need to have some participation with all of the group because the more brains that get together, the better the ideas that come out. So I think we probably should.
Okay, is everybody okay if we wait on this one?
I'm okay with that.
I'm fine with it.
Awesome, okay. And then spring performance, this one's kind of a quick one. I know we had originally talked about fundraising that day, some way, somehow. But we haven't had a chance to speak with, I haven't had a chance to speak with Dr. Renti. That'll be happening this coming Tuesday, I believe. So I would also say, let's hold off on that discussion. But do we want to have a table there regardless and have, a couple of parents or maybe a parent and a staff member? I don't know how involved the staff members are with the spring performance.
We have to we're manning things for the school.
Okay, so then let's hold off, John, on, since you and I are the only parents here, let's hold off on who's going to be there manning it, if we're going to do it or not. Let's wait till our next meeting, which is like 2 weeks before this, and we'll see if any of the other parents also want want to volunteer to be there.
Yeah, like, sorry,
Okay.
Delphino. So teachers, we end up running booths that represent the houses and like fun games for the kids and stuff. So
No, yeah, I
we're-
figured.
yeah, we're like swamped, but it's super fun. It's just, yeah.
Awesome. And says it is recommended that we approve last month's meeting minutes. We now have quorum, so did everybody get a chance to look at those?
Yes.
Okay, if nobody has any changes to those minutes, can we have somebody motion to approve them?
Motion to approve.
Second that
Uh-huh.
motion.
Was that Ms. Wilkinson?
Yes, I seconded.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Sorry, trying to type.
Oh,
Okay.
you're good.
Who is our administrator today?
It's Mr. Finley.
Okay, Finley. Okay, Mr. Finley.
See,
Would that be I?
yes.
Okay, Rachel,
Aye.
Genevieve,
Aye.
right? Alvin? It's like, yeah, he's there. Alvin, are you there? Can you hear me? What should I put?
That's
for
a
the-
thing.
Okay, got it. Trying to see where that, okay, and I say aye. John Kearney,
Aye.
great, and Jennifer is, both Jennifers are out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, oops, not me, it's absent. Okay, and Brett also, 'cause I know she's at her daughter's play.
Well, I'm here today. Well, I was just
Oh.
late.
Oh, great, okay,
Oh, Ms. Hamilton, yay.
yay, Hamilton, okay, so Jennifer. I nay. Oh, Jennifer, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, is that I or nay for the minutes? Okay, great, thank you, sorry. Okay, I'll update that at the top also that she's here. And then Delphino?
Aye, please.
Okay. That's 2. I think that's 7.
I updated the top for you.
Oh,
Carla.
great, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that's it. We don't, I mean, do any board members have any comments? All right.
When are
Oh,
elections happening? Just had a quick question.
yeah, I've talked to Marilyn. That's another thing I'm gonna talk to Dr. Lindsay about regarding them starting to advertise those things. The goal is for them to happen in May so that those people are poised to take office when we come back after the summer.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anybody else?
Nope, that was actually my question too.
Awesome. Okay, then I'm gonna say let's adjourn the meeting at 7:01 p.m. We're supposed to have somebody motion for that.
I'll motion. It's Genevieve.
Thank you,
second.
Genevieve. Thank you, John. Our next board meeting is May 12th. If I'm not mistaken, let me just double check. Yes, May 12th at 6 p.m. And I will see you guys then.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you guys. You guys have a good night too.
Have a good night, everyone.